Sorry for all the technical difficulties, people. Okay, yeah, everybody's saying that they can hear. So, all right. So, why don't you guys, since we're a little bit late, go ahead and give me a quick 5 to 10 minute history of you can bounce back and forth if you want, or go one ahead of the other of your history and just the music industry and go in general.
Okay, you want to start? Go ahead. First off, okay, I'm Slick Rick. How y'all doing? I started out, oh man, my music history into the go-go. Music history, I started out in gospel at the church. Growing up singing gospel choirs, going town shows with my cousins and my brother, which is Heartbeat. Did talent shows, the Tiny Temps, doing a lot of Temptation stuff. And back in the 70s, we started in the 70s. Actually started, I would say, 1972. I always like to tell people I started in 72 and I've been on stage ever since.
You didn't start at 72, man. You're only like 37 years old, man. You know started 70.
I wish I started in 72 doing my in and out of I was in church basically. I was doing R&B talent shows. From that point, as I got older, I played in the school bands. I played trombone and baritone in the school bands. As I got, junior high and through high school, I think it was about the eighth or ninth grade is when I was introduced to go-go.
Okay.
And my brother and I, along with the fellas that we over at school, we started a band called Central Groove.
Mm-hmm.
Central Groove was a band we had. My sister was managing it. Both my sisters was managing this at the time. And it's so funny because the whole entire band, we all went to school. Everybody in the band went to school. So we would go to school every day, talk about playing, doing this and that, the other, beating on tables and whatnot. So we got it together. Everybody got real instruments. We started playing. We got another manager along with my sister, the managers. Then we went to the studio and recorded. We was rehearsing every day after school. We rehearsed every day after school, actually for a year before we even came out. We went to and we did a record. It was a hit record we was on called Special How You Do. We got signed to Vanguard Records. We got signed to Vanguard Records. We made the Billboard charts actually.
Okay.
In 80, what was it, 83, 84? I think about 84. We was actually number 2 on the New Edition's Candy Girl on the Billboard charts.
Okay, what was that song? What was the song?
Special How You Do.
Okay.
It was called Special How You Do. It was written by me, myself, my brother, my other partner, trumpet player Andre Turner.
Okay.
So from that point, after Special How You Do, and then we went on through the high school phase. We was doing a whole lot. We was doing local East Coast touring with the band. As young high school kids. Almost like 10th and 11th graders. We graduated. I was in Central Group for a minute, and then I got the word from my trumpet, Andre Turner again, came to me and said that Hako Sweat was looking for a lead rapper and another horn player. And we used to open up for Hako Sweat. Actually, Central Group, we used to open up a Hako Sweat at Crystal Skates and a lot of other places. So that's how they knew about us. You know what I mean? And also with the record. They knew about it from point on, when he told we was Central Group with this band. And, when I went to my brother, when they asked me about it, I went to him for advice. Do you think I should try out for the band? He's like, shit, yeah, Hako Sweat, go for it.
Right.
So I met up with Charlie Finberg and Roy Battle, and they auditioned me in Charlie's basement. And I got it. I got the role from lead rap for Hako Sweat. You can imagine how I felt at that time. Hako Sweat was somewhat like a big name. And I was like 20, 21 at the time. When I get to run the lead for that band, on all the gigs they was getting, and they had Rocksteady in the band at the time. And I remember Rocksteady from Pump Fenders when he was playing with Pump Fenders. So it was like, dang, we hooked up with Hako Sweat, and I mean, the rest is history. We was with Hako, me and Rock did the Hako Sweat thing together for I don't know how many years. But we got a lot of recordings, doing our thing, and just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. After Hako Sweat, after we got out of Hako Sweat, Rock left the group first before I did. And then after I end up leaving, I think I was the last one to leave. After I end up leaving, you know, we had started a group called Crossover Band.
I remember
So we
Crossover.
did the Crossover Band, and then Crossover got the opportunity to get with Intro, the R&B group Intro.
Yep.
And what happened with that, you know, the band, you know, Crossover was still my band, but I wasn't no lead vocalist or nothing. So look, I'm always, hey, y'all go ahead and do that. Do your tour thing. When the band did that,
you froze up on me a little bit there, guys. You got strong Wi-Fi there? Wow. Everybody that's on Instagram right now, head on over to gogotix.co, and that's where the full broadcast is. For some reason, we've been having a lot of technical difficulties on this one. I'm trying to see if I can figure out, these guys froze up over there. Their feed cut out. They must not have had strong enough Wi-Fi, I guess. For anybody that's watching on YouTube, did they freeze up on your side too? Hey, Instagram guys, head on over to gogotix.co, and we're doing the full interview over there. For some reason, they're having a little technical difficulties on their side, so might have to restart here. But yeah, head over to gogotix.co, and that's the full interview over there for those of you on Instagram. I'm going to end the Instagram right now. If you're still on the YouTube feed, did they go out for you guys too? Did they freeze up? Or I'm just trying to find out if this is something on my end, or if it was, if you saw it on YouTube as well. Okay, so thanks, Michelle. All right, let's see. Hopefully they'll just log back into the same link again. Let me send it back to them again. Hopefully they can get back on here in a second. All right, I think maybe.
Am I back up?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, I don't know how we lost it. Oh, Cam.
So you got the slash in the can, right?
Are you guys using a phone or a laptop? Or
No, I'm on a laptop.
on a laptop? Okay. Okay.
There we go. I might got something here.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yep, I can see you. If there's any way, I think you guys might be back good again. If there's any way you could scoot a little bit closer to the camera, just because I don't know if it's for anybody else, but
Yeah, okay.
It's a little hard to hear you when you're talking, but that's probably because I'm deaf, because I played in go-go bands too long.
That's good enough, man.
Yeah, I think
Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yep, I can see you. Yep. Still seems a little choppy, so I'm not sure if your Wi-Fi is that strong, but good. All right, so you can go ahead and keep going with the story if you guys can hear us. Or hear me.
Okay, from when they left with when they did their tour with crossover, I had started doing my damn. What's wrong with this thing? It keep going in and out. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you and I can see you. Yep, it's just a little choppy. I think maybe your Wi-Fi
Okay.
not that
I don't
strong.
know why that blue thing keep coming up. Well, like I said, I was with Chuck Brown. Brothers playing with Chuck. We was doing the things. I was rapping with Chuck Brown at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's what a lot of people don't know. I was there before Lil Benny was rapping with.
Okay.
Before Lil Benny got there, I was rapping with. I was still doing the band thing. But what I did, I started managing rappers.
Okay.
I had my rap conglomerate going on. So, and when I worked with the rappers, because I was just waiting for the band to come back. So, I'm staying busy within the music. So I got some rappers I started managing. I had ironically, I was working with Steph Lover at the time.
Yep.
So Steph Lover. When Hawk Islam had Two Kings in Cypher, Ahmed Rod, and Derek B. Angeletti. I had Mr. Knott from Born Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Young lady named Noodle. She got a clothing company now. I forget what is it? Cookie wear. Just cookie wear clothing, all that old school hip hop stuff. I was working with a lot of rappers. I did Father MC's birthday. That's before Jay-Z was with Jazzo at the time. He was with Jazz.
Okay.
I know you remember back then with Jay-Z and Jazz. Then you had Black Sheep.
Yeah.
We did the whole
and all that.
Father MC. How old is that? So I was on that circuit with all of them. Super Lover Rug, Casanova C. Oh man, like I said, Dreads of Black before T. Ali was even signed. T. Ali was young and he was rapping. I called that. I knew he was gonna be, because he was nice back then. But,
Right.
yeah, I did that, and then when Rock and all them came to tour, we just continued doing our thing again. And from crossover, a few years. Oh man, going through the ups and downs, the bumps and bruises of a live band, managing a live band, running a live band. And to what we are now, starting a sweat band.
Gotcha. Okay.
Been around for a while, man.
Yep. Indeed. You guys don't look a day over 35 though.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, my life was a little more interesting. I mean, you're a little more complex, man. I was actually a drummer first, so I'm from Northeast / Uptown, so living in both of those areas, man. So my history was a little different. Coming up, as I was coming up, 10 years old, I was a drummer actually. And my first gig ever was a gig I did on a soundtrack, on a Big Chill soundtrack. The movie, The Big Chill.
I remember that.
That was like one of my first gigs. Yeah. From there, we had a little local band in the neighborhood. Was called the Crowd Pleasers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where go-go kind of came into play. Then this was years ago, man. So I ain't gonna tell you my age, but anyway, from there I played with the Pump Lenders, and from the Pump Lenders, I went to Sweat when Sweat was like, I wasn't as popular as building the band. They was just starting to trying to build something. Mm-hmm. And I got there. From there, we took Sweat to another level or whatever, From there, man, it's just so much. I did so much, man. With the crossover thing, we went, we did a lot of the R&B. I played with a lot of R&B acts. We made a lot of history with crossover, man. People don't really realize that. And I remember when Backyard and us was practicing in the same facility.
in the basement.
In that basement, 14 in Spring Road. So I remember taking Genghis. If you don't remember this, the first go-go introduction was from me taking Genghis up to the Pumble in the studio, man. This was many years. He was a young guy raising pit bulls. And he lived right behind me. So that, that's a whole nother story. But
I just said I never knew he lived behind you.
Yeah, right behind me. They used to call my mother basement the famous basement because famous people used to come in that basement all the time. And we used to always, that's where all the bands crossover, that's where we used to practice at, starting out. So that was like the famous basement, man, where a lot of people came through there, man. Everybody came through there, man. The latest, because you want to know the latest person that came through there before he was really, really big was John Legend.
Okay.
So that's how famous my mother basement was, and there was a lot of people coming through there.
We actually had a chance to be his band.
Yeah, we had a chance to be his band.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I actually was the guy that was taking him from college to college when Ordinary People came out. I was the guy that was driving him from college to college. Just me, him, in my little, where was it? What year was my Benz? I don't even know what kind of.
It was a Benz. So yeah.
And he had a keyboard. Me and him from Boston to Miami. So I was the one that kind of.
In what capacity were you doing that? You were working with the label, or you were why were you driving?
I was actually working with his management at the time. I was working with his management, which I known for a number of years. And what happened was they just asked me to do that, and they was just paying me to take them around. And man, I got tons of stories about that.
Ty Sticklorious and them, and I forget the other one's name. I remember one of his managers, Ty Sticklorious. Maybe she came later. I'm not sure, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
She
might have came a little later, but he had a guy, Jeff Christie, was one of his managers, that also managed Intro, that had Heavy D, that had Ashanti at one time. So he was like.
Jeff had full force, didn't he?
Full force. He had Pete Riles. We had all of them. So he was at that time was breaking them in, and he was like, "Yo, Rock, man, I need to get my guy." And I'm like, "Man, who this guy?" But look what happened, man. He blew up. So and he kept pressing me, "Man, when we going to band practice?" and the band practicing in the basement. And he was pressing me, but we was coming from somewhere, Richmond or somewhere. And of course, it was so late, all the band members left, and the opportunity was gone because he wanted to see the band, and that was that. But from there, he was this major star. Right. But that's just some of the history of what's going on, of what we did.
Okay. That's what's up. So were you, one of my questions was, I know you put out, you put out a record on, or Hot Cold Sweat put out a record on DETT, which is, and I feel like I've been told this story some time, but I can't really remember what was the difference between TED and, TEDD and DETT, and how did that, were you around when that happened? That was.
Well, actually, that label, I think Max, that was Max Kidd label.
Right. Yeah. So
people thought it was Ted Hopkins, but it was Max Kidd label. And I was around for the whole Max Kidd thing. Even with the Pump Blenders, I was around for Max Kidd, so I was one of Max Kidd's guys. So he got with Sweat. And he got what, Max Kidd was the first person the first major star I ever played with was Madonna.
Right.
On stage, and because of Max Kidd. So, I mean, it was just, Max Kidd was running that label per se.
Right.
And I don't know if everybody know who's Max Kidd is. You know, he was the
I
one that did the Go-Go movie. Where I know you know.
Right. Well, no,
So,
if I'm not mistaken, like Ted was the first one, and then they reversed the letters in the second label, and I just didn't remember why he did that. Why were there two different labels with almost the same name?
right.
It was
I
Ted
think
and I was Dead.
for some reason I want to say, don't quote me if I'm wrong. I want to say Rio Evers was involved in
I looked at the label. He definitely mastered it, and it looked like the record was
right.
produced by Tony and them. And I assume Rio was still around the Trouble Funk
Right.
at that time, so I'm sure he had something to do with it. But I couldn't remember exactly, you know, what the.
But I want to say that was Max Kidd label. Actually, that was Max Kidd label, and I think Ted had some dealings with it some kind of way. But
Right.
it was actually Max Kidd label on that first record.
Gotcha. Cool. And so, how did, like, I mean, at that point, obviously people were going in the studio and cutting records. And so in your recollection, when did that change and why did that change?
Man, at that, when we were out, and I tell this all the time, it was mandatory that you had original songs.
Right.
Everybody came out with original grooves. Every Congo player back then had original beats. Everybody had their own originality. So back then it was more competitive as far as people was racing to bring out records. You had Rare Essence, you had Trouble Funk, you had EU, you had Reds and the Boys, you had Peacemakers, Mass Extension. All these guys was making records, and everybody was coming out with original songs. Everybody had their own crowd. That
Everybody
was
had
amazing.
their own sound system.
Everybody had their own sound system. Everybody had their own crowd. It was Go-Go was really, it didn't have the social media that we have today,
Right.
but it was very, very effective when it came down to originality. People actually wrote songs and made songs.
You know what? Not to cut you off. Now that I think back in the days, when I say the 80s, I'm gonna say the 80s. In order to compete in the go-go with all these bands, you had to have your own PA system. You had to have your own equipment. You had to have your own stage crew. You had to have your own original songs, and you had to have a record somewhere if you wanted to be somewhere in that top tier. You know what I mean? And when we was with Central Groove, we did that. Once we cut a record, it was a joy to open up for Essence. An honor to open up for Blenders and Hot Cold Sweat. You know, young guys like that, we thought we made it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so when do you, because I didn't get into go-go until like 92. That's when I first started playing. I mean, I knew about it before that, but I didn't really, like, I started playing in 92. And at that point it was still like a hybrid of, you weren't necessarily playing all original music or doing all original lyrics, but it was at least a mashup of, we're taking a piece of this song, a piece of this song, a piece of this song. We would never just play a song verbatim. So, but obviously we went from the 80s, you know, where it was, you know, at least if you had a song, it was all an original song, to now we're chopping it up, and then to where we are now, which is now we're just playing a straight cover song over a socket beat. So from the 80s to the 90s, where did that transition happen, and why, if you know, why did we move from recording to, you know, like doing original songs and recording those songs to
well, I'll answer some of it. Well, here's the thing. My opinion is, I think somewhere down the line it got easy. It got easy for bands to say, okay, well, let's just get the cover tune and let's just get the money. Where back then we used to call cover bands, we used to call them top 40 bands that played other people's music. Go-Go's back then, from the 80s all the way to 91, maybe 92, bands were actually doing one slow song. We had, before we went into an intermission, we did a slow song.
Yep.
So it was more entertaining, and I think that we got away from, I don't want to say being lazy, but in so many words, got away from our creativity and our starvingness to be to come up with these original tunes. And that's what made go-go go down, to me, a little slope to
I think what changed is when you had somebody like, I'm gonna tell you, when you had somebody like My Eastern Hip Hop that's coming out, and you see bands, they seen the crowd that they was getting on their Grown and Sexy thing. They changed it to Grown and Sexy, and Grown and Sexy actually turned into Karaoke Go-Go.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was, like Rock said, it was easier for the musicians to just play something they heard on the radio versus playing their own stuff, rehearsing their own stuff and making it hot. And one thing a lot of go-go bands don't understand, they'll say that they got a lot of originals, but just because it's an original song you made up don't mean that original song Frank either. You know what I mean? And you can't force something that people quote. And if you keep feeding people the bullshit, they're gonna end up buying the bullshit. And when I say keep feeding the bullshit, you keep feeding them the same thing over and over and over, and you don't give them nothing different. You don't give them no variety of nothing. They're just gonna accept it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
I
saying?
think the last of the Mohicans, I mean to cut you off, but the last of the Mohicans was Northeast Groovers. Of course, you got Junkyard. It was Northeast Groovers and Backyard was the last of they were right in between the 80s, crossing over to the 90s, to the new wave of this go-go. And history proven, whoever sustained the most of their original tunes is on top. That's just history. It's been proven over and over and over again. Everybody that sustained that era, that kept their originals more than we all had to adapt and do the cover tunes, but they kept their originals, stayed on top. That's just proven history.
Well, even I guess I'm asking even before that, because there was a time when the go-go records were coming out, they were at least sort of seen at the same level, maybe on a slightly smaller scale, but they were at least seen as competitive with the other music that was out on a national level at the time. You know what I mean? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You're
absolutely right. But you know what? I think the marketing strategy, like, we didn't get radio support back then. We didn't get a whole lot of radio support back then. What they do now. I think
we only had AM.
We only had AM radio, which was the low budget of radio.
WOL
1450. But what happened was, we didn't get recognition, so it kind of died down, and people started getting like, man, what's the difference, man? They not playing our stuff. They didn't support us. Like when we used to go to different places in Virginia and even when we went out of town or whatever, people supported their own. They supported their own music, and I think that's what was one of the fallings of the originality of go-go. That was as many fallen, tears, but that is one of the tears. We didn't have the backing that the Atlanta groups had when they did their rap groups. The radio pushed their stuff, put their stuff on the first tier, where we had this city, and look at it now. We just all these years is the sound of DC now. That should have been there in the 70s. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Chuck,
So why do you think that what was different about, say, Chuck Brown, that he was still able to, throughout the years, every few years, put out a record that made some noise? I mean, obviously he had long drop bells.
Because with Chuck, well, first of all, Chuck had the respect. Chuck had the respect of Chuck had worldwide recognition. A lot of people in the Washington D.C. area don't know that. Chuck has had worldwide recognition, and he had the best musicians the money could buy. You know what I mean? If you knew Chuck Brown band, Chuck had select musicians that was permanent musicians.
Yep.
He would have people in and out. You know what I mean? Like when I was with Chuck, Chuck had the P-Funk Homes.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you had Greg, Benny Calvin, and Greg Thomas. You know what I mean? And you couldn't get no better than that.
But why do you think Chuck had that though? Like why was Chuck able to do that and the other bands weren't? I guess is what I'm getting at.
Because of relationships that he's built.
Yeah,
along the way.
It was more so the relationships.
He's built a lot of relationships, and you know it's about relationships, man.
Yep.
And people don't realize, even band members don't realize, like even I'm gonna use for example, even our band we got now Sweat. A lot of gigs we get is because of relationships that Rock and I have with a lot of people.
Right.
You know, they look out for you. They want to see you win. Nah, y'all still doing y'all sustaining the test of time. Come on, man. Let's get the show together. Let's make it happen. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's like Chuck always, like I could say, like when I did a show, I did Tramps in New York with Chuck. We did Tramps in the Village in New York, and we was playing. I'll never forget it. We down in the dressing room, you know, taking a break, and here comes.
Uh-oh. Right in the middle of the great story. Come on. All right, hopefully these guys can get back on here. All right, well, they're definitely having some connection issues over there. Hopefully they can get back on here in a minute because that was the middle of a great story right there. My hat is so crooked. Thank you, everybody, for staying tuned in throughout this. I know it's a little difficult to hear, and I know it's a little frustrating for I know you can hear me, but I mean, I know he was right in the middle of the dope ass story too about playing with Chuck, and somebody famous came down. I don't know who it was, but hopefully they can log back in and tell us. See if we can get him back on the line here. For all you guys watching and nobody has any questions. Yeah, I know old school Queenie. I think I'm saying that right, hopefully. I want to hear the rest of the story too, so hopefully they'll get back on here in a minute. Do me a favor though, while we are paused, everybody, if you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. I'll give you a heads up. Let's see who we have coming up this week. Tomorrow, I know we have Mike Madison from Secret Society, previously of Listen and OP Tribe. Okay, I think they're trying to get back on. And then Thursday we have, come back here. Thursday we have my good friend Monty Shulman, the Senior Vice President of Rhythmic Promotions for Atlantic Records. He used to be with Def Jam back in the day when Junkyard was there. He's a fan of Go-Go. He's out here with me in LA, but he's in a very senior position at Atlantic Records, which is one of the biggest record labels in the country. So if you know anyone who's interested in the business of go-go, or wants to know more about how go-go can, okay, they just texted me, said they're working to get back on now. Make sure you check that one out, because he's been in the industry for a very long time and knows go-go. And then Friday, we have Brian Mills from Secret Society, formerly of Chuck Brown as well. Okay, I think we got him back now. Let's try it again.
Trying to come back up.
Okay, you guys back? I think you
Yeah,
hear
man.
me?
Sorry for
You
the
see me?
technical difficulties.
It's all good.
Yeah, can you hear us?
The first time it was us. We you had the wrong link, but yeah. So you were in the middle of telling the story, which everybody was waiting to hear the end of. So you're playing with Chuck in New York, and who walks in?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we was at Tramps, New York, in the Village.
Yep.
And in walks Shaka Khan.
Nice.
Shaka Khan walking there, and I, back then, come on, man, what's wrong with this thing? Back then, I had a
We can see you in here.
Oh man. Okay. Back then, I had someone like a heavy crush on Shaka Khan. You know what I mean? So I was still wet behind the ears, and I'm looking. I'm like, my eyes got big. I said, "Oh my God!"
Did you shoot your shot? That's what we need to know.
First thing she walked in, huh?
I said, "Did you shoot your shot?"
Say it again. What you say?
Need to know.
I couldn't shoot my shot because Juju cock blocked me.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Hey, Malachi, so when he cock blocked me, I went at her daughter because she looked just like her.
Oh shit! Oh, there you go. There you go. Hey,
her daughter was like a young shot.
Make lemonade out of lemons.
So it was so funny. Right. It was so funny when she came in there. It was like, it ain't like she came in there and introduced herself. She, Chuck, baby, hey, baby. Gave Chuck a big old kiss like, damn, she missed him. She knew who he was. So I was amazed. Like, man. I did a lot of stuff with John F. Kennedy Jr. Birthday, his party when he passed the bomb exam. Now that was the most memorable party I've done with John F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, I bet.
And that everybody was, anytime you get a chance to meet Jackie Onassis, you know what I mean? Because of Chuck.
Yep.
That's why I said a lot of people don't realize how big Chuck was. In that party, I remember Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall. You had Jackie Onassis in there. You had all the soap opera stars in there. There was so many people in there. You got really dealing with the Kennedys. So you never know who they're gonna bring out. And it was that night was, man, you talking about the upper echelon of people. Where they had names as door. And I felt I walked with my chest out because I was walking there. A lot of people, paparazzi inside, couldn't. Man, I walked right in the door because my name was on the list. So I feel special,
Right.
But it was nice. I got one picture. I'm a post it on Thursday for Throwback Thursday. Me and John F. Kennedy did.
There you go.
Then. But you know what? It's ironic because Roy Battle and Charlie Finger was up there with me because Charlie was doing the same.
Okay.
So they'll tell you the same story. We was in there. We had a good time. Man. But yeah, with Go-Go, man, this Go-Go thing. And a lot of people ask what's going to take national with Go-Go is already, but what's going to take it for us to cross that bridge, and sustain. And I think we have to. It's no one individual's going to do it. We have to do it as a unit. Everybody. It's like we got to kick in the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we here. We the guy to kick in the door. And honestly, I can say one of the hottest joints I've heard. And I'm like, damn. And that was a yard joint, the Miracles joint.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
When that came out, like, me and Rock always analyzing. So we like, damn, who the hell is hey, we might have to do some homework. Hold up, who's that? And then that Welcome to DC was a killer.
Yeah.
Man, that was when I heard it at the business game, I'm like, oh my God. I said, yeah, they done did it. They done did it. But stuff like that is what inspires us to keep going. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm hoping that. That's part of what this whole series is for, is to try to, obviously that situation didn't end well. You know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of it points to I feel like there's a lot of misinformation in the go-go community about how things work, and that's why it's important to have guys like yourself that have seen a lot of these things and can speak to what are the things that make artists successful versus ones that are not. Like you drive, I'm assuming, you talking about driving up and down the East Coast with John Legend in a car with a keyboard. Like,
Right.
I'm assuming he was probably doing a promo tour or something like that. He probably wasn't really making any money, but
hey man, and I hope he don't call me up and cuss me out. But man, I thought that guy was brilliant, and I'm gonna tell you one of the reasons why. And I think I told Rick the story. He used to press up about 300 CDs, even though he was signed with a label, and he would, how we do our CDs, and we just grab our little magic mark and put the band name on it and sell it for $10. He was doing that,
grinding,
putting John Legend, writing his own and selling them.
So he was in the lobby.
He was. And I was like, one day I was like, man, what are you doing? He said, man, look, I gotta make my own money. So what I do is I press my own CDs up and I sell them every time because after every show he had to do a promo thing where people came up and got autographs and pictures and that type of stuff. So he sold his own CDs. But when the record, the A&R people came, he didn't do it. But when they wasn't there, he was selling his own CDs, man. And I was looking. He gave me another. Him and Kenny Green, those two guys gave me another life, meaning that they made me say, man, you gotta be. This is just the beginning because you here. You always want to get there, so it always takes a lot of work, man. A whole lot of work. And I always tell people, they always ask me, man, how do we play congos? Can you teach me how to play congos? Do you do this? It's one thing to learn how to play congos or you want to be the best of whatever you do. So for that, you have to create your own lane. And I always tell people, I can show you how I play, but you will have to learn how to play in your own lane. You got to do you. You got to do you. What's going to make you different from everybody else? And that's the thing that we try to teach in Sweatband and even in Crossover. You have to make a mark because we wasn't with the top bands. Let's get that straight. We wasn't never with the top bands, but our name still current to this day. Man, it was just special for me to walk around and people, when they see me, man, it's like they go crazy. And not because I guess still doing it. I guess because my name still ring and their mothers or their grandmothers know who I am.
That's because when you do battles on the internet, you play so hard that you knock the whole conga set over. That's why your name carries. You thought I wasn't watching, right? Nah, I was watching. I saw it. You caught that motherfucker quick, like it's some ninja shit. You caught that shit.
Yeah, with that, music is entertainment. So I was always raised, even as a kid, to be, man, you can play congos. Okay, you can do a speed roll. Okay, but now what? Can you play with your feet? Can you play? Can you turn around? Can you do something different that nobody does? Yep. And that got me, believe it or not, that got me a lot of worldwide gigs. People been calling me, and still to this day, I get gigs by people calling me outside of the go-go. And where that cat at that can twirl around on the congos? Where the cat at that play on his knees? Where the cat at with all the women, like, and I always used to tell people, man, look, I don't play for no guys. I'm sorry. I play for the women. So the women gonna spend the money. That's what I play for. As long as they like me, I don't care who else.
Well, it's a few important points that I think you guys touched on. One is relationships, and people in let me just say this: people that are not successful in the music industry feel like that's a bad thing, and they say, "Oh, well, he only got on because he knew such and such and such and such." People that are successful in the industry understand that that's your currency. That's not a bad thing. that's a good thing. So if you know that that's what's going to make you successful, then you need to do your best to make relationships. And I see that a lot of the times what happens in go-go is everybody's so guarded. Everybody's so, man, you ain't fitting to rip me off, that you don't make relationships with people because you always think somebody's out to get you. And I understand that there are a lot of times where somebody is. So you got to have your guards up. But I feel like go-go and just most of the people that I've been around in go-go are so worried about somebody trying to rip them off and so worried about that they don't get to the next step of that relationship. And then you don't go any further because nobody's willing to do anything for you or lend a helping hand or, or any of that because you didn't form that relationship. You know what I mean?
Right. The one thing I always tell people, and this is true, man, your passion is first.
Yep.
Me and Rick been around for a long time. I've been around longer than Rick. But the one thing I've always did, we had to get management because you know why? This is a true story. Every time somebody would call me for crossover or sweat, and they'd be like, "Okay, man, how much, man? How much, rock, man? Whatever you want to give me." And I would take the money out of my pocket and pay the band members and take the little $500 or $300. People don't know that.
Yep.
A lot of promoters that love me and respect us, because I don't think as the business guy, you need a management, you need representation to handle your business. And we don't answer the phone these days when it comes down to the business part because I'm still that guy. I'm still the guy you can call. Man, let me call. That's my man, Rock. I love that nigga. He gonna. And you call me, man, how much is the band? Man, what you got? Man, I got 500. Okay, we'll be there. We'll do it.
And then I'll be like, did you do your man? You just how much? Well, how you plan on paying these people? You got
so a lot
man,
of times,
man, they just got to do it, man. These my mans and them.
So a lot of times, I paid out of my pocket. Or a lot of times, because of the passion, man. And one thing I've learned, man, over the years, long as you got the passion and the love for what you do, you're gonna always see money.
Yep.
That's just the bottom line, man.
Absolutely. Well, and the relationship thing doesn't just go to the industry either.
No, it never goes away, man, because people don't forget. People never forget, man. They never forget. I have people that walk up to me, man, and say, "Man, you remember me? You remember, man, Evans Grill, man? You let me in? You let me walk in with you?" I have no idea who they are, but here it is, 20-something years later, and somebody to come to me to say that. That means we touched them in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And this is one of the guys that probably, okay, man, I'm gonna give y'all an extra $500 because, man, I remember what you did. So sometimes we always have to. We can't have our guards up all the time to say, man, we need to do this, we need to do that, because
you can't always take somebody out.
No, you can't, man.
You know what I mean?
And go-go is always like, for me and Mickey to do that battle, man. People been talking about me and Mickey for 40 years.
Right.
Doing that battle, which wasn't really a battle. It was more of an expedition. He did his thing, what he do best. I did what I do best.
Right.
But it was always barbershop talk. But finding out that we are blood family. So he's my cousin. So
really,
when at first during the years I used to be like, man, I'm gonna tear his ass up, but finding out family, I looked at it different. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we don't look at it that way now. So, but I'm just saying, Gogo is competitive, and there's no doubt about it. We all came from the battle state. In our era, which they're more nicer now. But back then, in our era, you battle. My competition wasn't Mickey. My competition was Jungle Boogie, Ula Tony, T-Bone, the kings, the real kings of the Congos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was my competition. I was a 15-year-old dude. Foxy Brown. Skin Tight. I was a 15-year-old dude where George Busey used to be like, man, what you gonna do? You got to do something. We going down the Howard Theater in front of Essence. You got to make these, you from Northwest, you got to make these people come see you. This is what you gonna do. So, you know, the pressure at a 15-year-old when Jungle Boogie was a grown man. So
Right.
for me, I had to come up with some different things, man, you know, which I still strive to be better every time I play on that stage, you know.
For sure. Well,
So,
that's important too. And I remember when I was filling in with Backyard for a while, that Sauce said that he kind of put me in my place because first of all, I was severely outclassed. I was definitely not a good enough guitar player to be playing with Backyard and the style that they play. You know, Northeast Groovers was a little different style. Like it was a lot more, you know, it was a little less. Not saying that it was any less musical, but it was just a different style. Where Backyard really plays heavy
right,
instrumentation. You know, where Northeast Groovers
right.
more about the sounds and the, you know, I could just chuck all night and play a ninth chord every now and again and sound like I know what I'm doing. When I got the Backyard, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. But I remember saying, Bob, and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe when I'm, you know, like I'm probably like 20 years younger than Bob. And, you know, like maybe once I have 20 more years of practice and Sauce was just like, man, you just got to get better every day and just keep learning and keep getting better. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And, you know, which I would have taken that advice to this day, except I don't even really play guitar anymore. So I don't have to worry about being embarrassed on stage with Backyard anymore. But so what do you guys, so tell us about what you guys are working on now, like what's coming up in the future. I mean, obviously, I'm sure, you know, coronavirus has had a heavy impact on everybody's plans, especially our live music.
Yeah, well, we have a spot that we're building in Columbia where people can come and see us on Sundays, where it used to be every Sunday, but you know, until this coronavirus, until this epidemic is over, we'll get back with that. Yeah, Nottingham. Exactly. Yeah, Nottingham. But
Nottingham is beautiful, man. It's a beautiful Sunday, Malachi.
We are definitely. I'm gonna tell you a story. What I told Dingus about you too, man. Remind me to tell you this. But we're coming out with original records that we've been holding on the shelf. So stay tuned for that. We're definitely going to be coming out with original records. I myself is coming out with a documentary about my life. So it's been I've gained a lot of weight and then I had to stop production. You know how that is, film. So I wanted to look a little decent. So I had to get in. People see me on Facebook doing my running and all that stuff. Yeah. So that should be, we're gonna have a big premiere in October when it comes down to that. But the Sweatband, look for we're gonna do a video, we're gonna be doing a couple of original songs. And might even a slow song. We're gonna bring back the slow songs. I hope nobody take our idea and steal it. We're gonna be one of the first go-go bands besides EU to come out with a slow song. So we're gonna be doing things like that. So looking forward to that. But the story I told Gingas was, man, that guy's good. I'm good at character of people that know me know about bands. They know I'm just real with it. I'm a good character of seeing how good people are, and I could just read how good you was back then, man. And I was like, man, that Gingas, you need to keep that guy. He said, he talking like that. I said, man, I'm telling you. Been around.
He know what he doing.
He know what he's doing. Yeah, he's a good guy, man. And I'm not just saying this because you're interviewing us, but I've been meaning to if I ever ran into you to tell you this story. But he'll tell you.
But the thing about it is one thing, and we want to say this, like one thing I can say, what we do, we analyze everybody. I know what I analyze everybody in the game. If I see somebody in the game, they talking about something. Oh, I'm gonna look them up. And I'm gonna figure them out. So when I seen you doing your Mamba Sauce thing, I seen you with Northeast Groovers. And then I said, then we was like, man, we trying to get the how all these people getting up to damn Merlin Live.
Yeah.
Merlin Live. And then somebody told me it was you. I said, Malachi. I said, hold up, man. Then when I got in contact with you, probably don't remember, it was too late. It was already done.
Yeah. I remember.
But the thing is, what we are doing, I like to reiterate on this. What I'm doing, I gotta just open up a studio.
Okay.
Recording studio. We be doing it for live music production, you know, and live music production, rehearsal space, but I did it for the band. You know what I'm saying? For this band per se. So so the thing about it is when I did it, and I got producers involved, I got engineers involved. You know what I mean? So and what I'm doing, I got a program where we're teaching young students going into the schools. You know, I got a grant program. So I hooked up with a teen outreach program in Montgomery County. You know, so I can get all the kids. So we're going through the schools, junior high schools, in high schools, ask the kids, what is it you want to learn in music? You want to learn live music instrumentation?
I mean, but I see somebody,
Michelle asked themselves the next 5 to 10 years.
This is the hot sweat, man, because of where we've been and where I've been and what I've seen. Sweat band, we're trying to go on another level. We're trying to be the ones, and I know everybody say this, the ones that kind of break the mold to make. Let's do some national go-go. Let's make go-go national because people love go-go. So that's our thing in the next 5 years is to try to do the records and take it to another level.
And you know, go-go is selfish, Malachi. You know what I'm saying? They want to keep it to themselves. DC wants to keep it to themselves, but you got to find a way to market it outside of the city. And that's the thing. And I got the studio for the band, so we don't have any excuses. Go in there, work out, rock out, do create. Right. If we get something we can vibe on, put it out there. And the next thing is set up a marketing system. How are we gonna market this? You can record all day, but if your marketing ain't on point, your business ain't straight, all you did was record it.
For
you know
sure.
what I'm saying? So I'm trying to say
marketing becomes significantly easier when you have a hit record. So you can market all day long. You can market the shit out of a turd ass record, but you can't polish that turd. You know what I mean? And so that's the one thing. I mean, yes, there's a million things that go-go doesn't do right. But the one thing that go-go can do right is write a hit record. You know what I mean? And if you put your mind to it, so you opening that studio is a great thing to give an opportunity for people to come in there and have somewhere to create. Because I think a lot of the reason why hip hop, sort of surpassed go-go is a lot cheaper to put a rapper in the studio with a beat machine than it is to put a 14-piece band in, and that's, so I'll ask you guys this because I ask this of almost every guest that I have on. Is it necessary for a go-go artist to have a band? Does go-go need a band?
Go-go, I would say this. A go-go artist needs a band to perform live.
Okay.
For a live performance, if you could be a go-go artist, a singer, a rapper, whatever, I think you get a better response if you have a band, because a band outweighs the DJ any day, all day on a live performance in an arena. You know what I'm saying? Because you can go so many different directions playing live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can you could be in a live groove and call an audible real quick, switch it up for them. With a DJ, a DJ can mix, scratch, and break. They gonna have they gonna play records that's already played.
I agree with Rick, but if you would have asked me this 20 years ago, I would say go-go needs a band because the band stepped together. Right now, bands it's so many freelancing, and that's one of the things that kills these bands. It's so many freelancing. There's no it's so many freelancing where it forces people that has the passion and that's trying to come up with their band or make their band hot. It forces them into being solo acts almost, to where as though they do a record and then come up with a band to do it. Because of the freelancing, I remember, man, people would break your neck if you went to play with another band. It was a real treat for somebody to play with. Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you was in a band and you missed the show because you was gonna play with somebody else, you get what?
Yeah.
Oh, we wasn't playing that back then. One of our band members gonna stay with somebody else, but we snatching them all.
Oh yeah.
I remember. I'm gonna tell you a story about that.
Oh, go ahead. Tell the story.
Remember Crucial Skates? When Toddy left Class Band, they were Air Raid.
Yep.
You realize they was in the middle of a groove, and Mo damn near snatched Toddy off the stage, and he's a lead rapper, and then threw a big ladder up on stage. Man, F you, man, we're just because they was considered their competition. You want to leave us hanging to go with the competition?
Yep.
You don't do that. That's
Yep.
it always competitors. And like Rock said earlier, if you think about the bands that's on top now, I've always said that, and I say it to all the younger bands that's trying to get on top. Look at the bands that's on top. Look at their blueprint. You got Red Essence, you got Backyard, Junkyard. Their members have been there for 10 or 15 years or better together.
And they don't really make those. They only make really technically special appearances with another band.
Right.
They stick where they
but
at.
then, if you think about it, look at this. How many people in Red Essence you see play with other bands besides Cal? But Cal come from what band?
Right.
So he probably has that. How many people in Backyard? Who in Backyard you ever see play with anybody else? Or Junkyard? They stick with their bands.
Right.
They're true to their bands. And what just like Northeast Groovers. Northeast Groovers to me is like, to me they was like aliens. I didn't know where the hell they came from. They got a crank that was just, I couldn't even tell where their crank began and end, where the transitions was at. It was like, I DJ as well, so I'm like, man.
Where they used to open up for us too.
Yeah, they used to open up a sweat. But when you as a DJ, and you can ask any DJ out here, you play go-go, you drop any Northeast Groovers track, it's gonna set the party off.
Yep.
Till this day.
Yep. Yep. No, that was some of
And
the
Junkyard, Red Essence,
I like playing with
Backyard. I know you had fun. I know it was fun because back when we was playing, and a lot of people don't realize Hot Cold Sweat at the time. Junkyard opened up for us. Northeast Groovers was an opening band for us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We only bands that we opened up for was Ray Essence and Chuck.
Right.
That's where we was at, and we was pulling 500 to 1,000 people a night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing about it is getting these young cats to understand that even the cats in Sweat that we have right now, you know, they think we do a lot of talking, but when you show them, when you show them facts, and they're like, oh wow, for real, yeah, we've been telling you this. They think you're just talking, and that's one of the things with a lot of younger bands now. When you ask the question about what it's going to take, and also tell them the history and this and that, the other, they have to listen. That's the first thing, you got to listen. Mm-hmm. Listen and comprehend. We're not just telling you something just because we think we know it or no. We telling you something from what we've been through and what we've seen. Mm-hmm. You know, and one of my pet peeves, I hate a wasted talent. If you're that talented, man, I want to see you go far. I want to see you soar. Yep. You know, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring you to the water. I can't make you drink it. I can bring you to the water. I'm gonna put you in front of the right people. Once you get there, you gotta do your thing. Show out, champ, because I believe in you. And that's anybody that come in this band. Anybody that's been with any band that I've been with, any band that I've had a chance to partake in, and Rock know one singer I know, I stamp him to this day. That's John Williams.
Yep.
John is no longer with us. John with Kim and Scooby and them. But they don't realize John started with crossover band.
Yep, I used to book his old band, Kinda Blue, when I was doing the shows in Annapolis. Yep.
But what you don't realize, Malachi, Kinda Blue crossover minus me and Rock.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they wanted to do a jazz thing. Yep. I got John into go-go the way I got John into go-go, because I told him straight up, don't come trying to solve a song, man. We looking for a male singer. You want to sing with us or what? If not, you can get up out of here. Right. Oh, I want to sing. Okay, but damn it, you will. And that's how that was his introduction to go-go.
Right.
And he'll tell you the same thing when he had dreads.
Yeah, it was a lot of people that's on the circuit that came through our camp. That's famous basement, really. That was that basement.
It was a crossover boot camp.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of people.
Well, listen,
on.
Rick, when you're talking about the grant program with the schools and stuff, my agenda is always to try to create the future of go, or at least be part of creating the future of go-go. And I think a lot, part of that is going to be or most of that is going to be with the younger generation. And I feel like there isn't. I mean, at least from what I can tell, there isn't that much interest in go-go from the 25 and under age group now. So right now, it doesn't mean there won't ever be, but just at this point, And so I would like to, you know, as you start, when does the program start? Or has it already started?
It started. This pandemic shut us down. You know.
Well, when you get back started again, if you start to find some young kids that have an interest in go-go, you know, definitely let me know, because that's definitely what I'm trying to. That's sort of what I'm trying to do with this series, is sort of flush out, you know, just kind of organically flush out anybody that's interested in doing something, taking it further than what it already is. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of that is going to be powered by the youth. So I'm very interested to hear what you're doing with that.
Most definitely. I'm gonna keep you on phone.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate it. Sorry we had all the technical difficulties, but it seems like almost everybody's stuck in with us throughout the whole time. So that's good. Thank you to everybody that you know, that tuned in, and this will be up on YouTube. I'm gonna see if I can try to edit some of the parts out, you know, where we lost each other or whatever. But thank you guys so much for coming in. I appreciate it, and thank you for you know, wanting to be a part of this so early before I even really got it started. I really just started it to have a reason to get up and put on a clean shirt every day. You know what I mean? But it's kind of turned into something cool. So I really appreciate you guys, and much respect to you as always. And you know how to get in touch with me if you need me. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for doing this.
Most definitely, Malachi. I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you guys.
All right.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.
All right now.
Yeah.